Please be seated. I have mentioned to you before, I have a friend named Steve Holton who regularly writes haikus about God and posts them on Facebook. They are really a true ministry of art, and I wouldn't be surprised if he would publish a book of them someday before too long. The day before yesterday, he posted this one about our gospel reading today. Wedding at Cana, nothing about the couple, all about the wine. Listen to that again. Nothing about the couple, all about the wine. What the heck does he mean by that? Weddings are all about the couple, aren't they? I mean, we have these, big, giant, flashy shows where people spend thousands and thousands of dollars so that they can have their perfect day. It's all about the couple, right? You could argue that. But if you did, you would be missing a couple of key points in today's gospel. The first point is that this is a miracle story, a sign story. This story does not say one single word about the couple. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they're from, if they're related, if one of them has been married before. You know nothing about them. Because the story's not about them. The story really is all about the wine which had once been water. It is Jesus' power that's important here. If he had just gone to a wedding and everybody had had a good time and went dancing, it wouldn't be in the gospel today. Even if it were more dramatic. If, as in the movie that we sat through last night, the bride and the groom had a fight just prior to the ceremony, only to realize after they had fled the scene that they were indeed meant for each other and came back into each other's loving embraces and everything ended all right. Even then, it wouldn't have been in the gospel. Even if the wine had run out and it had not been replaced, and even if that unnamed couple had then faced certain humiliation and had been the talk of the town and was the big story in the local news, even then, it would not have been in the gospel. All that matters in this story is that Jesus, in his power and compassion, turned water into wine. John, in his gospel, uses this story to tell us who Jesus is. He is the one who controls wind and rain. He is the one who controls water and wine. He is the one who heals and forgives and raises from the dead, who blesses and loves so that we might live eternally. And he is the one who brings joy and comfort in times of anxiety and fear. Like an unnamed couple who need that wine so that their start in life together doesn't end in disaster. So that's one big thing to remember. The couple's not named because it's not about them. But there's another point, and an important one. No wedding, at least no Christian wedding, is really about the couple. I know that's hard to hear, but it's not about them. It's about God. It's always about God. Just as no baptism is about the person being baptized, and no communion is mainly about the person who's receiving, and no healing is really about the sick person, and no reconciliation is just about the penitent, and no ordination is really about the bishop or the priest or the deacon. It's always all about who God is and what God is doing with us. Every sacrament is a sign of what God is doing with us and how we get to be part of it. And that is the way that it is about us. It's only about us in that we get to be part of it. We get to be part of what God is doing in any specific sacrament, but also in any and every aspect of life, every single moment of life. In Cana, Jesus let us know that this involves the power of mercy, compassion, and joy. So remember, it's not about the couple, but about the one who blesses the couple. This is very important for us in the Episcopal Church this week. If you had a chance to read the epistle or have been on Facebook or read the news, then you know that I've already written to you about the Anglican primates meeting this last week. And the primates meeting in England voted to suspend the Episcopal Church from certain committees, from voting in international bodies, and from representing the communion for a period of 3 years. Technically, by the way, they don't actually have the authority to do this, since they're not a voting body. But they did it, and we have respected it. If you would like to, you can get online and listen to our presiding bishop's response, which is truly faithful and truly inspired. Now, why did they do this? They did this because of our church's stance on same-sex marriage. And if you are uncertain what our stance is, we in the Episcopal Church marry same-sex couples. Now, there are a host of cultural, political, and theological considerations going on here. And it's important to know that the vast majority of those who voted to suspend the Episcopal Church are from the global south, largely in Africa, certain parts of Asia, and in South America. Incredibly conservative cultures. Especially in Africa and parts of Asia, the churches there face unimaginable persecution. They truly do fear for their lives simply for being Christians. And in a few African countries, the penalty for being homosexual is at least life in prison or the death penalty. The president of Ghana recently said he really would love to kill every homosexual in the country. You can face prison just for voicing support for gays or lesbians. So you can see that in the global south, they're very sensitive to the issue. And some of them feel that there's a certain American imperialism at play because when we sneeze, they get sick. That's how they feel. And so they feel that when our church voted to ordain gays and then to marry same-sex couples, that they were somehow having that forced upon them. But this is an important point to remember in the Anglican Communion. We are not a church. There is no Anglican church. We're a communion. And every church within that communion is autonomous. The Episcopal Church has only ever and can only ever act for itself alone. And especially in this issue, when we understand so clearly what is at stake, we would never tell other churches what to do. We simply ask the same respect of them. Now, this issue could be a very long sermon all by itself, and I will not do that to you. But I will certainly write more about it in the coming days, and I invite you to read about it and to ask me if you have questions. But it speaks to the context of today's gospel. Because this current situation is explosive precisely because we as a communion have forgotten that it is not about the couple, it is about the one who turns the water into wine. We focus too much on ourselves and forget to look toward Christ. We do that at our own spiritual hazard. If, however, we invite Christ to be with us, not only at the wedding or the baptism or the communion or any other aspect of our life, but everywhere, then who we are cannot matter, because we know that we are Christ's own. And that is all that matters. Amen.